Stiff hips don't stay in the hips. If your hips are tight, it can create low back pain, knee pain, and even shoulder tension. It's like a chain reaction. And in this video, I'm going to show you 10 hip mobility exercises that will break that chain and help you with your dance moves. Hello and welcome. I am Jalen Parmele. I am a licensed massage therapist and medical exercise specialist. Now, I'm sure you've seen videos where health pros or trainers show off their hip mobility and strength with advanced level movements like they expect the average person to be able to perform those exercises. But in reality, there's only a small percentage of the population that can actually perform those difficult movements. And I'm guessing that because you clicked on this video, you are not part of that small percentage. So this video will be 10 hip mobility exercises suitable for all levels to help restore the hip mobility your body desperately needs. Yes, your body desperately needs it. Remember, as always, before any stretching and mobility exercises, release muscle tension prior. Now, let's get started. All right, starting with hip flexor to hamstring. So with this mobility exercise, we're stretching both the hamstrings and the hip flexors. The hip flexors on the side with the knee on the ground and the hamstrings on the opposite leg. So we're going to start by pushing hips forward, keeping your torso vertical, then sit back on your heel and straighten your leg to stretch the hamstrings on the opposite leg. I will say the great thing about these mobility exercises is that any of them can turn into static stretches. So for any one of these exercises, you can just hold it in the static position and get a great stretch. All right, quadruped hip circles. So we're on the hands and knees for this one. If you're familiar with yoga, we're essentially doing a child's pose by sitting back on our heels, pushing our hips out to the side, and then dropping the pelvis as close to the floor as you can, while our arms are as straight as possible. So we're creating a cobra pose. And make it a continuous motion, so you should feel a good stretch in both glutes and hip flexors with this exercise. And here's another view of that same motion. Hip pushes. So with this exercise, you want to be as vertical as possible. So don't lean your torso forward. All we're going to do with this one is pushing the hips forward till we feel a stretch in the hip flexors on the down leg side. So the knee that's down, that's the side that we want to feel that stretch in the hip flexors. This is meant to be a mobility movement, so don't hold the stretch for any longer than 2 seconds. Now, I am using a stick, but it's not something you'll truly need unless balancing is a challenge for you. Now we're on to kneeling hip flexor mobility with arm swings. So for this one, you're going to have one knee on the ground with one foot on a chair or bench, and the side you're stretching will be the side that's down. So that knee that's down, that'll be the side you're stretching. What you're going to do is you're going to bring both arms towards the side of that down leg hip, then swing your arms across your body and upward while pushing your hips forward. So again, you want to stay as vertical as you can with this exercise, so don't lean or bend your torso forward. And you should feel a great stretch deep in the hip flexors. All right, now another version. With this one, we are going to bend forward while dropping our arms towards the floor. And we're throwing them straight back while we push our hips forward. You should feel a great stretch in those hip flexors. All right, now we're on a foam roller with this exercise. The foam roller should be placed on your sacrum, so just below your lumbar spine. If this is too uncomfortable, then just skip this exercise. But what you're going to do is you're going to grab and pull your knee to your chest while the other leg hangs freely. So this will stretch the hip flexors in the leg that's hanging and the glutes on the leg that's being pulled. Really make sure you're relaxing that down leg, that side that's hanging. Otherwise, you won't feel a good stretch in those hip flexors. So let that leg relax as much as you can. All right, now we're on to pigeon pulses. So for this exercise, one knee is bent underneath you,
Aim to bring it towards the center of your torso and as high up to your chest as possible. And what you're going to do is sit your butt back outside the heel as far as possible, then return to the starting position. This will stretch those deep hip rotators. And here's another angle of that same exercise. All right, now we're on to standing hip pushes. So we're standing straight and we're pushing our hips out to the side as far as we can. Notice how my legs are straight and I'm not bending forward, and my arms are straight out in front of me. So this is one you can do against the wall instead of holding a stick like I'm doing. Now we're doing hip circles. So keep your arms straight out in front of you, push your hips back while keeping your legs straight. Then bring them back around to the front and push them as close to the stick or wall as possible. Now we're doing single leg hip circles. So with this exercise, we're standing straight with our hands on the wall, and we're pretending we're lifting our leg up and over a hurdle. So start by bringing your knee back, then you bring it up and over as high as you can. And as you approach the wall, you want to get that knee as close to the wall as possible. And now we go in the reverse motion. So bring the knee forward up as high as you can, and then pretend you're stepping back over the hurdle. So make this a continuous movement, meaning do not stop after each circle. All right, lastly, we have leg swings. We'll have two different versions of this exercise. For this version, we are kicking our leg forward and back. The important thing to remember is to let your leg and hip relax during this exercise, meaning don't tense up your muscles because it will restrict your range of motion. We also want to make sure that we are keeping the standing leg and torso straight. The goal is to kick your leg up as high as you can to stretch the hamstrings, but you don't want to force it. Now this version, we are facing the wall and we're kicking our leg from side to side. Again, make sure your hip and leg are relaxed.